Family dinner. The announcement. The crystal stemware caught the chandelier light as champagne bubbled in 6 glasses around the Walters family dining table. Megan sat at the head, practically vibrating with self-satisfaction, her engagement ring catching the light with every gesture. Our mother, Julia, fussed over the catered hors d'oeuvres. Shrimp cocktail, prosciutto-wrapped figs, artisanal cheese that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. So, as I was saying, Megan continued, swirling her champagne, I found the perfect solution to our wedding budget crisis. I set down my fork carefully, the silver clicking against china. Something in her tone made my stomach tighten. The account at Northern Trust, Megan said, her eyes landing on me. The one you barely touch, Abby. It had exactly what we needed. The room contracted. I felt Victoria Hayes, Brandon's mother, shift in her seat across from me. She'd been watching our family dynamics all evening with careful attention. Could you repeat that? My voice came out level, professional. The same tone I'd perfected over 10 years of federal banking investigations. Oh, don't play innocent. Megan waved her hand dismissively. You know the account I mean. You never use it. I checked the transaction history. Nothing in months. My mother reached over to pat Megan's hand. It really is the most practical solution, Abigail. You live in that tiny apartment. You drive that ancient Honda. You're clearly not investing in anything important. She smiled indulgently. Megan's wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event. How exactly did you access my account? Megan exchanged a look with our mother. Quick, conspiratorial. Mom still had your old account information from when you were in college. We used it to set up the transfer. It's not a big deal. I see. I took a sip of water, processing. And how much did you transfer? $47,000. Megan's voice rang with pride. It covered the venue upgrade to the grand ballroom at the Grandmont Estate, the designer dress alterations, and the honeymoon suite in Bali. The wedding planner said it's going to be absolutely spectacular. My father, Stephen, finally spoke from his end of the table. Abigail, your sister deserves this. She's worked so hard planning this wedding. You can always save more money. You're still young. I'm 35, Dad. Megan is 29. Exactly. My mother interjected. You have plenty of time to rebuild your savings. Megan needs this now. Besides, what were you even saving for? You don't have a boyfriend. You're not buying a house. You just let money sit there doing nothing. I smiled slightly, thinking about the actual purpose of that account, but said nothing. Brandon Hayes shifted uncomfortably beside Megan. Maybe we should have asked first, babe. Oh, please. Megan rolled her eyes. It's family money. Abby would have said yes anyway. I just saved us the awkward conversation. Would I have? I asked quietly. Of course you would have, my mother said firmly. Because you're a good sister. Because family helps family. We've always shared everything. I thought about the countless times my family had shared my belongings. My graduation money that funded Megan's spring break trip. My car that became Megan's car. My college fund partially redirected to Megan's sorority expenses. The pattern was so familiar it almost didn't hurt anymore. Almost. When is the wedding? I asked. Megan's face lit up. Saturday! Just 4 days away. You're still coming, right? Wouldn't miss it, I said truthfully. The Grandmont Estate, Megan practically squealed. 200 guests, a 12-piece orchestra, roses imported from Ecuador. Brandon's family is going to be so impressed. Victoria Hayes cleared her throat delicately. It does sound lovely, Megan, though I must say I'm surprised you had access to Abigail's accounts. That seems rather unusual. Oh, we're very close, my mother jumped in quickly. Not like some families who keep secrets. We share everything. Abigail understands that Megan's happiness is the family's happiness. I noticed Victoria's eyebrows rise slightly, but she said nothing more. Well, I stood, folding my napkin. This has been illuminating. I should get going, early morning tomorrow. Still working that boring bank job? Megan asked with mockery. What is it you do again? Process paperwork or something? Something like that, I replied evenly. Congratulations on the wedding, Megan. I hope everything goes exactly as planned. My mother hugged me. Don't be upset, sweetheart. This is for the best. Maybe you'll meet someone at the wedding. I smiled and said nothing. As I walked to my car, my phone buzzed. Agent Morrison. Wire transfer flagged in Northern Trust System. Unauthorized access pattern matches your case parameters. Need you to verify. My hands shook as I typed back. Me. Verified. Subject is family member. Proceeding with scheduled protocol. Agent Morrison. Confirmed. Team mobilizes Friday evening. Venue secured for Saturday morning. You okay? I stared at that last question. Me. No. But we proceed anyway, the hidden truth revealed. I drove home on autopilot, my mind compartmentalizing. The downtown loft I'd bought 3 years ago, cash, after years of careful saving, welcomed me with its clean lines and minimalist comfort. Everything in its place, everything controlled, everything except my family. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door and went straight to my laptop. The Northern Trust account Megan had raided wasn't my primary account. It wasn't even really mine. It was a federal monitoring account, BAIT essentially, maintained specifically for my work with the Financial Crimes Division of the U.S. Treasury Department. The $47,000 Megan had stolen was federal government property. I pulled up the case file, fingers moving through security protocols. The investigation into Northern Trust had been running for 18 months. We'd identified multiple instances where outdated account authorizations remained active. Elderly customers reporting unauthorized transfers by estranged family members. Small business owners discovering former partners still had access years after removal. Northern Trust had insisted their security protocols were flawless. My family had just provided perfect proof otherwise. I looked at the family photos on my wall, the only personal items in an otherwise austere space. Megan and me as children, gap-toothed and grinning. Our parents on their anniversary. Carefully curated moments of family happiness. My phone buzzed. Rachel Morrison calling. You filed the report. Not a question. I had to. I know. Rachel's voice was gentle. But you could make this disappear, Abby. Bury it in the investigation. No one would question it. I closed my eyes. She was right. I could. I'd thought about it during the entire drive home. But then I thought about Mrs. Patterson, the 78-year-old woman who'd lost her entire life savings when her grandson accessed her Northern Trust account using 15-year-old credentials. I'd held her hand while she cried. I thought about the small business owner whose former partner had embezzled $200,000 through similar security failures. I thought about every victim whose case I'd worked. I can't, I said quietly. If I let them get away with this, what am I even doing this job for? Being a federal inspector? Not being a family referee. They're not mutually exclusive anymore. Silence. Then, Director Walsh wants to brief you tomorrow morning, 8 sharp. I'll be there. After we hung up, I sat in the dark, looking at those family photos. I'd never corrected their assumption that I was just a low-level bank employee. When I'd gotten this job 10 years ago, fresh out of MIT with my master's in forensic accounting, my mother had said, "That's nice, dear. Maybe you'll work your way up to manager someday." I'd never mentioned the MIT degree. They thought I went to state school. I'd never mentioned my testimony before Congress. Twice. I'd never mentioned my level 4 security clearance or the major cases I'd led or the commendations on my record. I'd let them think I was invisible, unimportant, unsuccessful, because it was easier, because it kept expectations low, because some part of me had wanted to see if they'd ever ask, ever care enough to really look at me. They never had. Now they were about to. The investigation begins. The Federal Reserve Building rose against the Monday morning sky like a monument to order and accountability. I badged through security with practiced ease and took the elevator to the 7th floor. My team was already assembled in Conference Room B when I arrived. Agent Rachel Morrison, 38, sharp-eyed, my partner for 6 years. Director Thomas Walsh, 52, my mentor since I'd joined. And Agent Kevin Park, 29, our tech specialist, surrounded by laptops. Inspector Walters. Walsh gestured to a seat. Hell of a weekend. Yes, sir. Before we begin, can you handle this? It's your family. No shame in recusing yourself. I met his eyes. Sir, I've spent my entire life being invisible to them. Maybe it's time they actually saw me. Walsh studied me, then nodded. All right. Park, brief her. Kevin swiveled his laptop. The initial flag was the $47,000 transfer Tuesday evening, but when we dug deeper, he pulled up transactions highlighted in red. There were actually 3 separate transfers over 2 weeks. My stomach dropped. 3? 3. First was $15,000 2 weeks ago. Second was $11,000 10 days ago. Third was $47,000 Tuesday. He looked up. Total, $73,000. I felt blood drain from my face. She told the family $47,000. She lied, Rachel said bluntly. The extra $26,000 went to a different account, personal account in your sister's name only. So she didn't just take money for the wedding. My voice sounded distant. She stole extra for herself. Appears that way, Walsh confirmed, which changes this from impulsive to premeditated. 3 transfers over 2 weeks isn't poor judgment, it's a pattern. I had wanted to believe it was thoughtlessness. Entitlement, yes, but not malice, not calculation. You okay? Rachel's hand touched my arm briefly. I wanted to believe she just didn't think it through, I said quietly. That she was just being Megan, impulsive and self-centered, but not deliberately criminal. People can be both, Walsh said. The investigation continues. Park, what else? Kevin pulled up more data. Funds distributed to multiple vendors, $15,000 to Grandmont Estate, $12,000 to Designer Bridal House, $8,000 to Prestige Catering, various smaller amounts. The remaining $26,000 is in that separate account. Have you contacted the vendors? I asked. Not yet. Wanted your authorization first. Rachel slid a folder across the table. This is the proposed operation plan. We execute Saturday morning at the venue. Full federal presence. Treasury agents, FBI Financial Crimes Unit, U.S. Attorney representation. The wedding will be canceled, I said. The wedding is already based on federal theft, Walsh replied. It can't proceed, you know that. I did know that, but knowing and accepting were different things. There's something else, Kevin said. I ran background on Grandmont Estate. It's been flagged in 3 other federal investigations. Different cases, same pattern. Clients with questionable fund sources, high-pressure sales tactics, non-refundable deposits. You think it's connected to something larger? Rachel leaned forward. Too early to tell. Could be money laundering. Could be coincidence. But 3 flags in 2 years is unusual. Walsh made a note. We'll expand investigation scope, but our primary focus remains the Northern Trust security failure. Walters, you can be present, but you don't lead family interviews. Morrison handles that. Understood? Understood, sir. One more thing. The U.S. Attorney will likely offer a plea arrangement. First offense, family circumstances, restitution option. They'll probably avoid prison if your family cooperates. A small mercy, but it still meant my sister would have a federal record. Still meant my mother would be questioned as an accessory. Still meant our family would implode. When do we notify them? We don't, Walsh said. They'll find out Saturday morning when agents arrive. Maximum impact, minimal chance to coordinate stories, standard protocol. After the meeting, Rachel walked with me to my office. You could still give them a heads up, she said quietly. Off the record. Give them a chance to return the money. I stopped walking. Is that what you'd do? Honestly, I don't know. My family's different. We're not close, I corrected. They just think we are because I've never pushed back before. Rachel nodded slowly. So this is you pushing back. This is me doing my job. There's a difference. But even as I said it, I wasn't sure I believed it. The confrontation before the storm. I showed up at my parents' house Wednesday evening unannounced. The same suburban colonial where I'd grown up, where Megan still had her childhood bedroom preserved, while mine had been converted to a home gym within a month of my moving out. Megan's car was in the driveway, the Audi she'd somehow afforded. Looking at it now, Thinking about that extra $26,000, I wondered how much of her life was built on money she didn't have. I rang the doorbell rather than using my key, establishing boundaries. Megan answered, yoga pants and oversized sweater, hair in a messy bun. Abby, what are you doing here? We need to talk. Now. Something in my tone made her step back. Okay? I walked past her. Where's Mom and Dad? Mom's at book club. Dad's working late. Just me. She crossed her arms. What's this about? The money. I need you to return it. All of it. Right now. Her face cycled through expressions. Are you seriously going to ruin my wedding over money? I'm trying to save you from ruining your own life. Save me from what? You're just jealous no one wants to marry you. The words were meant to wound. They did, but I'd learned not to show Megan when she landed a hit. This isn't about jealousy. That account isn't what you think it is. It's your savings account. Mom showed me the statements. No. I pulled out my phone, pulled up my federal credentials, held them out. I'm Senior Inspector Abigail Walters, U.S. Treasury Department, Financial Crimes Division. That account is federal property. You committed a federal crime. She laughed. You're lying. You work at a bank processing paperwork. I investigate financial crimes at banks. There's a difference. The laughter died. You're serious. Deadly serious. Return every dollar within 24 hours or I file an official federal report. You'd actually do that? To your own sister? Would you have stolen from me if you'd known the consequences? We stared at each other, years of resentment crackling between us. The front door opened. Julia's voice rang out. Megan, honey, I'm home! She stopped seeing us. Abigail, what a surprise! Mom, Abby's having a breakdown, Megan said quickly, saying crazy things about the money. Julia set down her purse. What's wrong, dear? I need Megan to return the money, all of it, by tomorrow. Oh, Abigail. Patronizing sympathy. The money is for Megan's wedding. It's already spent. The venue, the dress, it's done. Then unspend it. Cancel the upgrades. Return the money. How dare you? Ice replaced sympathy. How dare you try to destroy your sister's wedding after everything we've done for you? What exactly have you done for me, Mom? The question confused her. Raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head. You took my college fund for Megan's sorority, my graduation money for her spring break, my car. You've taken from me my entire life, and I let you because I wanted peace. But this time is different. Different how? Stephen's voice from the doorway. He'd come home during our argument. What's going on? I turned to face them all. Megan and Mom stole $73,000 from a federal monitoring account. I'm a federal inspector. They committed a federal crime. I'm giving them 24 hours to return it before I proceed with prosecution. Silence. Absolute silence. 73? Megan's voice cracked. I only took 47. You took 73 in 3 separate transfers. You lied about the amount. Her face went pale. Stephen walked in slowly. Abby, you work at a bank. You process. I'm Senior Inspector Abigail Walters, U.S. Treasury Department. I pulled out my credentials, laid them on the coffee table. I've held this position for 10 years. I have a master's degree from MIT. I've testified before Congress twice. And the account Megan raided is federal property. My father picked up the credentials with shaking hands. You're actually a federal agent? Inspector. Close enough. Megan started crying. I just wanted one perfect day. Brandon's family has everything. I wanted to show them I'm worthy. I wanted to matter. There it was, the vulnerability breaking through. My sister, desperate to be seen as enough. I almost wavered. Almost. Then, matter by being honest, I said quietly. Return the money. Tell Brandon the truth. Build a life based on reality, not theft and lies. You're insane, Julia hissed. You'd destroy your sister, your family over this? Over a federal crime, yes. You're my daughter. You wouldn't actually. I'm a federal inspector first. Your daughter second, 24 hours. I walked to the door. Stephen's voice stopped me.
Abby, would you really?
I looked back at this man who'd stood by silently for years. Dad, I've spent 10 years protecting people from financial criminals. I can't become what I fight against by protecting criminals just because they're family. I left them standing there shocked. They didn't return the money. I knew they wouldn't. The night before. Friday night found me alone in my apartment, surrounded by case files I couldn't focus on. The operation would begin in less than 12 hours. Federal agents were already positioning. Tomorrow, my family's world would detonate. I stood at my window looking out over the city lights and let myself feel what I'd been pushing down. Grief. Guilt. The terrible weight of choosing justice over family peace. My phone buzzed. Rachel, you can still pull back, she said. No one would blame you. I'd blame me. Would you? Or would you just be choosing love over law? Love shouldn't mean enabling harm. They didn't just hurt me. Northern Trust's failures have affected hundreds of customers. Another call buzzed, Director Walsh. Last chance to abort, Walters. Team's in position, but I can pull them back. I closed my eyes. Saw Megan at 7, holding my hand on her first day of kindergarten. Julia teaching me to bake Christmas cookies. Stephen carrying me on his shoulders at the beach. Not all of it had been bad. That was the cruelest part. No abort, sir. We proceed. Understood. For what it's worth, you're doing the right thing. Then why does it feel so wrong? Walsh was quiet. Because you're a good person, Walters. Good people feel the weight of their choices. That's what makes them good. After we hung up, I pulled out my laptop. An email notification popped up. Subject, urgent. Your sister's wedding. From V. Hayes at Hayes Estate Attorneys. I opened it. Inspector Walters, this is Victoria Hayes, Brandon's mother. I apologize for the intrusion. I obtained your email through professional channels. We need to speak before tomorrow. I have information about your sister's financial situation that you need to know. It's worse than theft. Please call me tonight. This is urgent. Victoria Hayes. I dialed the number. She answered on the first ring. Inspector Walters, thank you for calling. What do you know about my sister? May I speak frankly? Please. I've been conducting background research on Megan. Standard procedure when my son plans to marry. What I've found is concerning. My hand tightened on the phone. Go on. Your sister has $45,000 in credit card debt across 7 cards. She's borrowed $30,000 from Brandon, claiming it was a temporary loan she'd repay after the wedding. Based on spending patterns, she has no intention or ability to repay. Victoria paused. The extra $26,000 she stole? It went to paying off her most delinquent cards. The pieces clicked into place. Megan's desperation, the multiple transfers, the lies. She's not just entitled, Victoria continued. She's running a con. Maybe not consciously, but the end result is the same. She planned to marry Brandon, access his accounts, and use his money to maintain a lifestyle she can't afford. I felt sick. Why are you telling me this? Because tomorrow, when federal agents arrive, this information should be part of the record, and because I'm asking you to ensure my son knows the truth before he marries her. The operation will make sure he knows everything. Good. Relief in her voice. Inspector Walters, I know this is difficult, but you're protecting more people than you realize, including your sister, from herself. After we hung up, I sat in the dark for a long time. This wasn't just about the wedding. Megan was in a spiral that would destroy her and everyone close to her. By stopping her now, I might actually be saving her, or destroying her last chance to turn around before it was too late. I didn't sleep. I watched dawn break over the city, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. At 6:00 a.m., I put on my black suit, my most professional armor, clipped my credentials badge to my belt. At 7:30 a.m., I got in my car and drove toward the Grandmont estate. The reckoning was coming, and I would be there to see it through. The federal raid, arrival. The Grandmont estate rose against the Saturday morning sky like something from a fairy tale. Sprawling historic mansion, manicured gardens, the kind of venue that promised happily ever after. At least, that's what the brochure said. I pulled into the parking lot at 8:02 a.m., precisely 2 minutes late. 3 black SUVs were already positioned near the main entrance, deliberately visible. A mobile command unit sat in the back corner, satellite dish extended. Federal presence announced, impossible to miss. My hands gripped the steering wheel for a moment before I forced myself to let go. This was happening. No turning back now. Agent Rachel Morrison met me at the entrance, her expression professionally neutral, but her eyes concerned. She'd known me too long not to see the cracks in my composure. "Morning, Inspector," she said formally. We were on the record now. "Morning." My voice came out steady, training taking over. Director Walsh emerged from the command unit, silver hair catching the morning sun. Behind him, 6 Treasury agents and 4 FBI financial crimes investigators assembled in crisp formation. This wasn't a small operation. This was a statement. "Inspector Walters." Walsh's tone was grave. "Status?" "Ready, sir. Remember, you're an observer. Morrison leads all family interactions. You're present as the investigating officer whose account was compromised, not as their relative." "Understood." The venue coordinator, Margaret Simmons, approached nervously. Mid-40s, professionally dressed, clearly terrified by the federal presence. "Agents, the bride arrived 30 minutes ago. She's in the bridal suite with her mother and bridesmaids. She's been extremely agitated about a payment hold our bank placed on the venue deposit this morning." Rachel and I exchanged glances. Northern Trust's security protocols had finally kicked in. 24 hours too late, but better than never. "What payment hold?" I asked. Margaret wrung her hands. "The wire transfer was flagged by our bank this morning. Standard fraud detection. When I tried to explain to Miss Walters that we needed to verify the source of funds, she became very aggressive. Threatened to sue us, said her wedding was in 6 hours and we had no right." She stopped, looking at our badges. Is this why you're here?" "Among other things," Walsh said. "We'll need access to all your financial records for this event, and I need you to secure the venue. No one leaves until we've completed initial interviews." Margaret nodded, pale-faced. Should I tell the bride?" "We'll handle that," Rachel said firmly. Agent Kevin Park appeared, laptop in hand. "Sir, I've got an update on the Grand Mont investigation. Twist number 3. The investigation expands." Walsh gestured him to continue. Kevin pulled up files on his tablet. "Grand Mont Estate has now been flagged in 4 separate federal investigations over the past 2 years. I just got confirmation from the FBI's money laundering unit. They've been building a case. The venue's been used to wash money through wedding vendor payments. Different criminal organizations, same pattern each time." My stomach dropped. "So Megan's wedding would have potentially involved her in a federal money laundering operation?" "Yes." "Unwittingly, but that wouldn't matter if charges were filed." Kevin looked grim. "The venue owner, Charles Grand, is on the FBI's watch list. Megan's transfer from a federal monitoring account is what finally gave them probable cause for warrants." Rachel's eyes widened. "So, by stealing from Abby, Megan accidentally exposed a money laundering ring?" "Looks that way." I felt something shift inside me. My sister hadn't just stolen federal money. She'd nearly become an unwitting participant in organized crime. The wedding I was about to destroy might actually be saving her from something worse. "Does this change the operation?" I asked Walsh. "No, but it means FBI takes lead on the Grand Mon angle. We handle the Northern Trust security failure and your family's theft. 2 investigations, 1 location." He checked his watch. "Let's move. Morrison, take point. Walters, you're with me." We walked through the elegant hallway toward the bridal suite. I could hear Megan's voice before we reached the door, high-pitched and angry. "I don't care what your bank says. That money is mine. I transferred it legally from a family account. This is my wedding day, and if you think some banking error is going to ruin it, you're insane." Rachel knocked firmly. The door opened. The bridal suite confrontation. Megan yanked the door open, her face flushed with fury. She was already in her wedding dress, $15,000 of silk and lace, probably paid for with stolen money. 4 bridesmaids hovered behind her in matching lavender gowns, along with Julia, resplendent in mother of the bride champagne silk. What now? I already told you people. Megan stopped mid-sentence when she saw the federal badges. Rachel stepped forward, displaying her credentials. Miss Megan Walters, I'm Special Agent Rachel Morrison, FBI Financial Crimes Unit. We need to speak with you about unauthorized wire transfers from Northern Trust Bank. Megan's eyes went wide, scanning the group of agents, then landing on me standing behind Rachel in my black suit, credentials displayed on my belt. The color drained from her face completely. Abby? Julia appeared behind Megan, her expression shifting from confusion to horror as she saw my badge. What are you wearing? Why do you have… Mrs. Julia Walters, Rachel continued professionally. You're also named in this investigation. On Tuesday evening, you provided account authorization codes to access a federal monitoring account without permission. Federal… Julia's voice cracked. It was Abby's savings account. No, ma'am. Rachel's tone was firm, but not unkind. It was a United States Treasury Department monitoring account used in active criminal investigations. Climax number 1. Family breaking point. I stepped forward. Director Walsh nodded permission. Mom, Megan. My voice was calm, professional, but my hands were trembling. That account at Northern Trust isn't mine. It's maintained by the U.S. Treasury Department. I'm Senior Inspector Abigail Walters, Financial Crimes Division. I've held this position for 10 years. The money you took belongs to the federal government. You've both committed federal crimes. Megan collapsed onto a velvet chair, her wedding dress billowing around her. Mascara started running down her cheeks. This isn't real. This can't be happening. Julia grabbed the doorframe for support. This is a joke, a trick. You're trying to scare us. Agent Park entered with his tablet. Ma'am, these are the federal complaint documents, filed Monday morning by Inspector Walters. The U.S. Attorney's Office authorized this operation Thursday evening. You filed charges? Megan's voice rose to a shriek. Against your own family? You stole from a federal account, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. What did you think would happen? I didn't know it was federal. How was I supposed to know? Rachel stepped in. Ignorance of ownership doesn't negate theft, Miss Walters. You accessed an account without authorization. That's a crime regardless of who owned it. Julia's shock transformed into rage. How dare you! After everything I sacrificed for you, I raised you, gave you everything, and this is how you repay me? Destroying your sister's wedding? Humiliating our family? Something inside me cracked. The professional facade slipped. You didn't give me everything, Mom. My voice broke slightly. You gave Megan everything. My entire life you took from me to give to her. My college fund, my graduation money, my car, my opportunities, and I stayed quiet because I loved you and I wanted peace. But this time, you didn't just take from me. You took from the federal government. You involved hundreds of vendors and guests in a federal crime. You did it without even asking, without considering that maybe, just maybe, I had reasons for keeping that account separate. Megan was sobbing now, her expensive makeup destroyed. My wedding, everyone's coming in 4 hours. Brandon is at the church. Stephen Walters appeared in the doorway, still in casual clothes, clearly expecting to get ready at the venue. He froze when he saw the federal agents, when he saw me in my suit with my badge. What's happening? His voice was small, uncertain. Dad, I turned to face him. Mom and Megan stole $73,000 from a federal monitoring account. I'm a federal inspector. This is the consequence. He stared at me like he'd never seen me before. You're actually… Yes, I have been for 10 years. You never asked. The weight of that truth hung in the air. The interrogation and evidence presentation. Rachel gestured to 2 female agents. Please escort Miss Walters and Mrs. Walters to the conference rooms. We need formal statements. They led my mother and sister away, both still in shock. Megan's white dress trailing behind her like a ghost. I stood in the hallway with Director Walsh, suddenly exhausted. You handled that well, he said quietly. I destroyed my family. No, they destroyed themselves. You just documented it. 30 minutes later, I watched the interrogations via video feed in the mobile command unit. Rachel led Megan's interview with calm professionalism. "Walk me through how you accessed the account," Rachel said. Megan's voice was small now, defeated. "Mom had the account numbers from when Abby was in college. She keeps all our documents. We just used them." "You just used them." 4 separate transfers over 2 weeks. "That's not impulsive, that's planned." "I was desperate." Megan started crying again. "Brandon's family is wealthy. I wanted them to accept me. I wanted to fit in." Twist number 4. The debt revelation. Rachel nodded to Agent Park, who entered with his tablet. "Miss Walters, you have $45,000 in credit card debt across 7 cards. You've borrowed $30,000 from your fiancé under false pretenses. The extra $26,000 you stole went directly to paying off your most delinquent credit cards. Is that correct?" Megan's face went white. "How did you can't—" "Financial crimes investigation. We have access to everything." Rachel's tone remained professional. "So this wasn't just about the wedding. You're in severe financial crisis." Megan broke down completely. "I didn't mean for it to get this bad. I just wanted to keep up. Brandon's friends, his family, they all have so much. I thought if I could just get through the wedding, I could figure it out. I thought Abby wouldn't even notice the money missing because she never spends anything. She just lives in that tiny apartment and drives that old car, and I thought—" She stopped, sobbing. "I thought she wouldn't care." Watching the monitor, I felt my heart break. My sister wasn't just entitled. She was drowning, and instead of asking for help, she'd grabbed onto anyone nearby. In the adjacent room, Julia's interrogation was less emotional but more defiant. "I don't need permission to keep my children's documents," Julia said coldly. "I'm their mother." "Your daughter is 35 years old," Rachel countered. "Did you have her current permission to access financial accounts?" "I don't need permission. Everything I did for my family." "You accessed a federal account and facilitated theft of $73,000. That's not doing for your family. That's federal crime." Julia lifted her chin. "Then prosecute me. I don't care. I was protecting my daughter's happiness. That's what mothers do." Watching her, I understood finally. My mother genuinely believed she'd done nothing wrong. In her mind, Megan's wants superseded all laws, all boundaries, all other considerations, including me. Brandon Hayes' arrival and the wedding implosion. At 10:30 a.m., a BMW pulled into the parking lot. Brandon Hayes emerged, confusion clear on his face. He'd been at the church, waiting, wondering why his bride wasn't answering her phone. His mother, Victoria, stood by her own car, clearly waiting for him. "Mom, what's happening? Where's Megan?" Brandon's voice carried across the parking lot. Victoria put a hand on his arm. "Son, we need to talk before you go inside." I couldn't hear their conversation, but I saw Brandon's face change, confusion to shock, to disbelief, to anger. Victoria had done her job, told him the truth about Megan's debts, her lies, her plans. After 10 minutes, Brandon headed toward the entrance with grim determination. Victoria followed. Rachel intercepted them. "Mr. Hayes, I'm Special Agent Morrison. We're conducting a federal investigation. Your fiancée and her mother are being questioned." "I need to see her." Brandon's jaw was set. "Now." Rachel glanced at Director Walsh, who nodded. Climax number 2, the personal reckoning. They brought Megan to a conference room. I watched through this two-way mirror as Brandon entered. Megan rushed to him. "Oh, thank God you're here. This is all a huge mistake. Abby is doing this because she's jealous." "Stop." Brandon stepped back, his voice hard. "Just stop. Brandon, I love you. We can get through this." $45,000 in credit card debt. $30,000 you borrowed from me that you never planned to repay. $73,000 stolen from your sister. His voice shook with anger. "How much of our relationship was a lie?" "I can explain everything. Were you ever going to tell me, or were you just going to drain my accounts after we were married?" Megan's face crumpled. "No, I love you. I just made mistakes." "You made choices, Megan. Calculated, deliberate choices." Brandon pulled the engagement ring from his pocket. He'd apparently been holding it.
You lied to me about your finances. You stole from your sister. You involved me in federal crimes without my knowledge.
He set the ring on the table between them.
I can't marry you. I don't even know who you really are.
Brandon, please. Megan fell to her knees in her wedding dress, grabbing his hand. Please don't do this. Everyone's coming. The venue, the flowers, everything's ready.
None of it was real, Megan. It was all built on theft and lies.
He gently removed his hand from hers. I'm sorry, but I deserve better than this. We both do. He walked out without looking back. Megan's screams echoed through the venue, raw, broken, the sound of everything falling apart. I turned away from the mirror, unable to watch anymore. Stephen had been standing behind me, having witnessed the whole thing. You did this, he said quietly. You destroyed her. No, Dad. I faced him. She destroyed herself. I just held her accountable. She's your sister! And I'm a federal inspector. Would you ask me to ignore anyone else's crime? My voice rose. Or is it only okay to break the law when you're family? She made a mistake. She made 3 separate transfers over 2 weeks, Dad. She lied about the amount. She stole extra for herself. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern of criminal behavior. We stared at each other, finally seeing each other, maybe for the first time. I have spent my entire life being invisible to all of you, I said, tears finally breaking through. Being the reliable one who doesn't need anything. You took from me over and over, and I let you because I loved you. But this time was different. This time, Megan didn't just hurt me. She hurt everyone who trusts Northern Trust Bank. Every customer whose money is at risk because of security failures. Every person who could be victimized next. I'm a federal inspector. My job, my duty, is to protect people from financial criminals, even when those criminals are my own family. Stephen said nothing. There was nothing to say. Abigail's breaking point. I found an empty hallway and finally let myself break. Slid down the wall, sat on the floor in my professional suit, and covered my face with my hands. The sobs came hard and silent, my body shaking with them. Hey, Rachel's voice. She sat down beside me on the floor. Hey, come here. I leaned against her shoulder and cried. I destroyed my sister's life, I whispered. No, she destroyed her own life. You just refused to be part of the destruction. She's going to prison, Rachel. My baby sister. Maybe. Or maybe this is the wake-up call she needs. Rachel put an arm around my shoulders. Maybe facing real consequences finally stops the pattern. My family will never forgive me. Do you need their forgiveness, or do you need to be able to live with yourself? I didn't answer. Couldn't. Director Walsh appeared, gave us a moment, then spoke gently. Inspector Walters, the U.S. Attorney wants to video conference. We moved to the command unit. U.S. Attorney Rebecca Patterson appeared on screen, sharp, fair, experienced. Inspector Walters, hell of a case you've handed me. Yes, ma'am. Your sister is facing serious charges. Theft of federal property, wire fraud, potentially conspiracy related to the Grand Mont investigation. She's looking at 10 to 15 years if we prosecute fully. I felt sick. But, Patterson continued, I'm aware of the circumstances. First offense, financial desperation, no prior record. And her sister is the federal inspector who caught her. She paused. I'm willing to offer a deal. Full restitution of $73,000 plus $50,000 in fines, 5 years federal probation, 500 hours community service, mandatory financial counseling. One condition: she cooperates, fully, testifies about Northern Trust's security failures, everything. What about my mother? Same deal. Both cooperate, both avoid prison, but their lives change significantly. I exhaled shakily. Thank you, that's fair. Don't thank me, Inspector. This isn't mercy. It's justice proportional to the crime. They'll still pay a heavy price. After she disconnected, I sat in silence. She gets a second chance, Rachel said quietly. She gets consequences. I corrected. But yes, a second chance too. Outside, I could see vendors being turned away, guests being notified, the wedding that would never happen dissolving like smoke. My family stood by their cars, separate, shocked, broken. I'd done this. In the name of justice, in the name of duty, in the name of protecting others. I'd done this to my own family, and I'd have to live with that for the rest of my life. The aftermath. Family confrontation. The Grand Mont Estate parking lot at 2:00 p.m. looked nothing like a wedding venue. Federal vehicles dominated the space. Vendors had been dismissed. Guests notified of cancellation. The entire elaborate production ground to a halt. My family gathered by their cars, preparing to leave. Separate vehicles, separate lives. The fractures now visible. Julia approached me first, her face a mask of cold fury. The mother of the bride dress seemed absurd now. Champagne silk for a celebration that would never happen. "I hope you're proud of yourself," she hissed. "You've destroyed this family." I was exhausted, hollowed out, but I stood my ground. "No, Mom. You and Megan destroyed this family when you decided stealing was acceptable. I just documented it. We're your family. That's supposed to mean something." "It does mean something. It means I loved you enough to give you a chance Wednesday night. You chose not to take it." Megan emerged from the venue, still in her wedding dress, mascara-stained face, hair falling from its elaborate updo. She looked destroyed, broken. "I'm going to prison," she said hollowly. "The U.S." "Attorney offered a deal," I told her, keeping my voice professional even as my heart cracked. "No prison if you accept accountability. Full restitution, $73,000, $50,000 in fines, 5 years probation, 500 hours community service, mandatory financial counseling." Megan looked up, first spark of hope in her eyes. "No prison?" "Not if you cooperate fully. Testify about Northern Trust's security failures. Complete the terms." Stephen stepped forward. "Where is she supposed to get $123,000? "That's not my problem, Dad. That's the consequence of her choices." "But it is your problem." His voice rose. "Because you did this. You could have handled this privately." "How?" I snapped back. "By letting federal theft slide? By protecting criminals? Would you ask me to ignore anyone else's crime or just Megan's?" "She's your sister." "I know she's my sister." The words burst out of me, all the pain I'd been containing. "Do you think this was easy? Do you think I wanted to see her like this? I have spent my entire life being invisible to all of you, being the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who doesn't need anything. You took from me over and over, and I let you because I wanted peace, because I loved you." But this time was different. Megan didn't just hurt me. She hurt every customer Northern Trust has failed, every person whose money is at risk because of security failures she helped expose, every victim who deserves justice. I'm a federal inspector. My job, my duty, is to protect people from financial criminals, even when those criminals are family. Julia's face hardened. "You're no daughter of mine." The words hit like a physical blow. I felt tears sting my eyes, but refused to let them fall. "I know," I said quietly. "I've known that for a long time." I turned and walked to my car alone. Behind me, I heard Megan's renewed sobbing, my father's heavy silence, my mother's bitter words I couldn't quite make out. I drove away without looking back. Weeks later. The professional win. 3 weeks later, I sat in the U.S. Senate Banking Committee hearing room, fluorescent lights harsh overhead, cameras recording every word. Senator Elizabeth Morgan leaned forward. "Inspector Walters, can you explain how your family members accessed a federal monitoring account?" I kept my voice steady, professional. "Senator, Northern Trust Bank maintained outdated authorization protocols allowing account access using credentials over 13 years old. My mother possessed account information from when I was 21. The system should have required updated authorization but failed to do so. This security failure isn't unique to my case. Our investigation found 247 similar instances across Northern Trust's system. In 89 cases, unauthorized transfers occurred. Total customer losses exceeded $3.2 million. Senator William Bradford adjusted his glasses. And the perpetrators in your case were family members. Does that compromise the investigation's integrity? No, sir. If anything, it validates it. The fact that my own family could access federal property demonstrates the systemic nature of these failures. The law applies equally to everyone, regardless of relationship to the investigating officer. After my testimony, Northern Trust's CEO announced complete security system overhaul, $50 million investment, implementation of all my recommended reforms, restitution fund for affected customers. Director Walsh found me outside the hearing room. Excellent testimony. Because of your work, we're implementing these reforms across all major banks. You've changed the industry, Walters. At what cost, sir? He studied me with kind eyes. The cost of doing what's right. It's never cheap. He handed me an envelope. Your promotion came through. Lead inspector, your own team. You've earned it. I stared at the envelope. Should have felt triumphant. Felt empty instead. Megan's accountability. 5 weeks after the canceled wedding, I drove to the Community Service Center in East Baltimore. I'd been avoiding this, but curiosity and something else, something that might have been hope, finally won. I stood in the doorway of a classroom, watching my sister teach financial literacy to at-risk teenagers. Megan wore jeans and a simple sweater, no makeup, hair in a plain ponytail. Nothing like the woman who'd sat at our parents' table announcing her wedding plans. I want to tell you something, she said to the class. I'm here doing community service because I made terrible financial decisions. I stole money from my own sister. I went into massive debt trying to impress people. I lied to everyone I loved about money. And I lost everything. My wedding, my fiancé, my relationship with my family, my freedom for the next 5 years. So when I teach you about budgeting, about credit, about consequences, I'm not teaching from a textbook. I'm teaching from failure. A teenage girl raised her hand. Do you regret it? Megan's voice cracked. Every single day. But regret doesn't fix what I broke. Only actions do. So I'm here, trying to stop you from making my mistakes. The class ended. Megan saw me in the doorway. Long, awkward silence. How long have you been there? She asked quietly. The whole class. Are you here to gloat? No, I'm here because I needed to see if you were actually changing or just performing. Megan gave a bitter laugh. And, what's the verdict, Inspector? I think you're trying. That's more than I expected. Silence stretched between us, years of hurt and resentment filling the space. I am sorry, Megan said finally, for what I did, for how I treated you, for everything. Are you sorry you did it or sorry you got caught? She thought for a long moment. Both, honestly. But mostly, I'm sorry I hurt you. You were always good to me and I took advantage of that. First, genuine accountability I'd heard from her. The money, the wedding, Brandon. I know you lost everything, I said. I deserved to lose everything. Maybe, but I didn't want it to happen like this. I'm trying to choose better now, Megan said quietly. Is that worth anything? It's a start. We didn't hug, not ready for that, but it was something. The Grand Mont revelation, 8 weeks after the canceled wedding, I was at my desk reviewing case files when Rachel burst in. You need to see this. The Grand Mont investigation just broke wide open. She pulled up files on her laptop. Grand Mont Estate was the center of a $15 million money laundering operation. 37 weddings over 2 years used as fronts for laundering drug money. The venue owner, Charles Grand, was collecting wedding payments from multiple criminal organizations, disguising them as legitimate expenses. My stomach dropped. Megan's wedding would have washed money through 7 different vendors, all connected to the operation. If the wedding had proceeded, she'd have been an unwitting participant in federal money laundering. Agent Kevin Park entered. It gets worse, or better depending on perspective. Brandon Hayes' family was under investigation too. What? Victoria Hayes's law firm was on our watch list, suspected of facilitating money laundering through estate planning. We couldn't prove it until we tracked Brandon's wedding payments. Kevin pulled up documents. Brandon's family money came from questionable sources. Victoria might have been using the wedding to launder money through Grandmont. The implications hit me like a truck. So, by stopping the wedding, you saved Megan from much deeper criminal involvement, Rachel finished. If she'd married into the Hayes family, she'd be facing RICO charges right now, 20 years to life. Director Walsh appeared in my doorway. Charles Grand arrested an hour ago, 15 others in custody. Biggest financial crimes bust of the year. Started because Inspector Walters flagged her sister's $73,000 transfer. By prosecuting Megan, I couldn't finish the sentence. You saved her life, Walsh said simply. Literally. She was about to marry into a criminal organization and become part of a massive money laundering scheme. Prison was inevitable, just a question of which crime. Should we tell her? Rachel asked. I thought about it. Yes, she deserves to know that losing everything might have saved her from something worse. Family Dinner Redux. 3 months after the canceled wedding, I sat in a quiet restaurant, neutral territory. My family gathered around the table for the first time since that Saturday. Megan looked different, thinner, makeup-free, wearing simple clothes, working 2 jobs, attending community college, living with our parents and rebuilding slowly. Julia and Stephen sat stiffly, uncertain. I broke the silence. I asked you all here because there's something you need to know about Grandmont Estate. I explained the money laundering operation, the Hayes family investigation, how the canceled wedding had saved Megan from RICO charges and 20 years in federal prison. Megan's face went white. Brandon's family? They were criminals? Brandon probably didn't know, but yes, if you'd married him, you'd be facing 20 years in prison right now for money laundering, not 5 years probation for theft. Long silence as reality settled. Stephen spoke quietly. So, by stopping the wedding, you saved her. I didn't know about Grandmont when I filed the report. I was just doing my job. But yes, it worked out that way. Julia's voice broke. Abigail, Abby, I owe you an apology I can never fully make. I looked up, surprised. I spent your entire life overlooking you, undervaluing you, taking from you. I made you invisible because it was easier to focus on Megan, who always needed more attention. Tears ran down her face. But you were the strong one, the capable one, the one who became something extraordinary while I was too blind to see. You're a federal inspector. You have a master's from MIT. You've testified before Congress. You own your own home. And I thought you were a bank clerk. That's not your failure. That's mine. I failed to know my own daughter. First genuine apology I'd ever heard from her. Stephen added, I failed you too. I stood by while your mother redirected your resources to Megan. I told myself it was keeping peace, but really, I was taking the easy path. You deserved better from me. I needed to hear this, I said, my own voice breaking. For so long, I thought maybe I wasn't worth knowing. You were never background noise, Megan said. You were the foundation, and I built my house of cards on top of you until it collapsed. She paused. I'm in therapy now. Court-mandated, but I'm actually doing the work. Learning why I need validation so badly, why I took from you. Why did you? I asked. Megan's voice was small. Because you made it look easy, being accomplished, being independent, being enough. I was drowning, and instead of asking for help, I took from the only person who seemed to have it together. I was drowning too, Megan. I just drowned quietly. Understanding passed between us. Can we fix this? Stephen asked. As a family? I don't know, but we can try. What would that look like? Julia asked. Boundaries, real ones, respect, actual interest in my life, not just when you need something, and therapy, all of us, together and separate. I can do that, Megan said. We can all do that, Julia confirmed. We will do that, Stephen promised. 6 months later. Epilogue. 6 months later, I sat at my desk working on case files. The past half year had been transformative. Megan had completed 250 hours of community service, paid $500 monthly toward restitution, worked 2 jobs, enrolled in community college accounting program, attended therapy weekly, living with our parents, rebuilding slowly. Julia and Stephen attended family therapy with me bi-weekly. Julia volunteered at a women's shelter. Stephen took early retirement, spending more time understanding his daughters. They'd paid half of Megan's restitution as their own accountability. Northern Trust implemented $12 million in security upgrades, 0 unauthorized transfers in 6 months. Industry-wide reforms spreading. Grand Mont Estate shut down permanently. Charles Grand, 18 years federal prison. Brandon Hayes' mother, Victoria. Cooperating witness, probation deal. Brandon himself, not charged, moved to Denver, started therapy. I'd been promoted to lead inspector, managed a team of 6, led 4 major cases with perfect success rate. Featured in Wall Street Journal profile. The inspector who investigated her own family. A knock on my door. Megan stood there with grocery bags. I remember you said you liked Thai food, so I thought, maybe dinner? I can't afford restaurants, but I learned to cook. I smiled, genuinely pleased. You cooked? I'm learning skills that don't involve spending money I don't have. Cooking is therapeutic. We sat at my small dining table. Awkward, but genuine conversation. I got accepted to the state accounting program. Full scholarship, Megan said. That's amazing! I figured if I'm going to understand money, I should really understand it. Maybe someday I can help people the way you do. You'd be good at that. You understand making mistakes. We laughed, first real laugh together in years. Do you think we'll ever be okay? Megan asked. As sisters? I think we're on our way. We'll never be what we could have been. But maybe we can be something better, sisters who actually know each other. I'd like that. My phone buzzed. Text from Julia. Family therapy Thursday, 6 p.m. Your father wants dinner after. No expectations, just asking. I showed Megan. Are you going? I considered. Yeah, I am. Then I will too. Megan washed dishes without being asked. Growth, as she left. Same time next week? Same time next week. Door closed. I was alone again. But not lonely. Not anymore. I returned to my desk. Opened case files. My federal badge caught lamplight. I thought about everything. The pain, the loss, the cost of doing what was right. My family would never be what I'd once hoped. But they were trying. And so was I. Justice isn't cold. It's not vengeful. It's just fair. Even when it hurts. And sometimes the people you hold accountable eventually thank you. I'm Abigail Walters, Lead Inspector, Financial Crimes Division, daughter, sister, and finally, for the first time in my life, seen.